Buenos días a todos.
Good morning, one and all. I hereby call to order the General Assembly, 8th session. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Mr. Juan Carlos Varela Rodríguez, President of the Republic of Panama. I ask protocol to escort His Excellency.
En nombre de la Asamblea.
On behalf of the General Assembly, it is my honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Mr. Juan Carlos Varela Rodríguez, President of the Republic of Panama, who I now invite to address the Assembly.
Estimados,
distinguished heads of state and heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen, I should like to extend my greetings to the President of the General Assembly, Madam Maria Fernanda Espinosa, whom I would like to recognize as the first Latin American woman to occupy this highest position in the United Nations, and to Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez for his renewed commitment to this organization. My greetings to the Panamanian people. From this rostrum, once again, I thank you for providing me with an opportunity to serve you. I return to this assembly for the 7th time, and with this participation, I am closing a chapter as a head of state, and in just a few months, I will be starting a new chapter as one more citizen in the world, but a citizen decided to continue to support efforts of this institution fighting for peace and social justice, following the example set by great leaders such as Nelson Mandela and Kofi Annan. In these years, I have borne witness to debates and efforts undertaken by the United Nations to seek harmony in the world. Some of the leaders whom I have heard in this room are no longer with us, some of them left in peace, and others under violent conditions. We have achieved ambitious goals, from the approval of Sustainable Development Goals to the commitment to fully reaching them by the year 2030. And yet there are many challenges that remain, such as peace in Syria. And the topic in this assembly leads us to the following reflection. Are we doing enough as leaders in order to help this organization have a real impact on the lives of people? The response is in the commitment of those who are responsible for leading us to our destinies in our countries. This institution was founded on the conviction that the leaders of the world should be capable of guiding us on the path that would lead to a peaceful resolution of our differences. It weighs on those who we welcome to this annual meeting the responsibility that the dream for peace and brotherhood become a reality. This peace, which not only is a threat due to weapons, but also because of injustice, poverty, hunger, inequity, and a lack of opportunities for our people. And this is why, as part of the commitment that we undertaken in adopting the Sustainable Development Goals as a state policy in 4 years, our government has walked with firm steps in order to fulfill these goals. We have rebuilt cities entirely, and more than 100,000 Panamanian families now have new housing so that their children can have access to dignified housing. We have identified the main diseases that impact our citizens through a massive healthcare census that allows us to administer healthcare in a preventative manner. We are transforming the Panamanian education system so that it will be bilingual and to make it more equitable. More than 6,000 Panamanian teachers have been trained abroad in order to teach English, and we are building 3,000 new classrooms for our students. Moreover, we are strengthening our system of higher technical education. I am filled with pride to share with you that at this time, a group of Panamanian teachers are teaching English to Syrian children who have sought refuge in the Satari camp in Jordan. With record investments, we are providing ourselves with modern systems of sanitation in various cities of the country and building potable water facilities to bring potable water to everyone in our country. We are the country in Latin America with the greatest urban mobility investment, with 2,000 kilometers of new roads, 22 kilometers of metro or subways, and soon they will be entering in operation. 26 are currently under construction. We have reduced insecurity by 50%, rescuing thousands of young people from criminal gangs and strengthening our capacity through public forces. Panama is a different country from the one that I received in 2014. Before all Panamanians and before the world, I can stand here and say, my head held high, that we have managed to transform politics into a service, rebuilding our democracy, making it functional for future generations. I have governed my country in peace, through dialogue and consensus, using the force of the state only to protect our people and not to confront it. I have kept my word, the word I made on the first day of my term, to tackle corruption head on, and that no one is above the law. There is still much ahead of us. The judicial system still has important challenges to be met so that there is no longer any impunity. We have worked tirelessly to strengthen our institutions and to consolidate our young democracy, all the while respecting and supporting authorities elected from all political parties, their communities, thereby increasing economic capacity. Next year, Panama will hold its 7th democratic elections with an electoral body that has proven to be a guarantee of transparent suffrage. Due to deep-seated electoral reform that we have supported, this will be the electoral campaign that is the most fair, short, and transparent ever seen in the history of our country. For the first time, the state will shoulder full responsibility for financing of media campaigns. And we continue to consolidate this as a country of union with a strong air connectivity, consolidated with a new airport. Maritime connectivity is strengthened by an expanded canal and new ports. Human connectivity with our geographic position and facilities with new convention centers, a new port, all of which will play a significant role. With a logistical and financial platform, we put this at the service of the world trade, which we have defended and protected so that it is not used for anything that is illegal. We are witnesses to this successful culmination of the expansion of the canal, which is one of the main ways of uniting the world through its permanent neutrality, openness to world trade. This interoceanic link was recovered by the Panamanians due to the Panama Canal Treaty and a courageous decision to be a simple human being. And that here I am referring to former President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, who publicly I hereby recognize as changing the direction of our nation with his decision. We have been through complex situations that have impacted the image of our country, but we were able to come out ahead under the principle of justice becoming injustice when it affects the most innocent. And we showed the world that the success of our country and our economy is only linked and based on honest work of our people. In these years, we have endeavored to fulfill the Sustainable Development Goals, bringing more than 150,000 Panamanians out of poverty, reducing it by 5 percentage points from 25 to 20%. We maintained economic growth around 5%. We have strengthened our social protection system for senior citizens and students, and we have significantly improved hospital infrastructure, education, and school attendance, access to potable water, education, and housing. We have also, in a dignified manner, welcomed tens of thousands of citizens from other countries who seek in our land a better future for them and for their families. We witnessed the migratory crisis of more than 100,000 Haitians who left Brazil after the earthquake. They were in Brazil due to the economic crisis of that country. They were then compelled to migrate once again. Many of them lost their lives along the way. I here recognize the leadership of Chile in assuming a solution for this human tragedy by receiving them in their country. In the face of Juan, a 7-year-old African child who now lives in Panama because he lost his mother walking amongst the mountains between Panama and Colombia. In his face, we see the tragedy of migration. And that child marked the deepest place in my heart and created a commitment of countries that must manage better migratory flows in a more organized manner while respecting the rights of all who are human beings and seeking better conditions for their lives. Thousands of migrants from other continents have crossed our border with Colombia through dangerous jungles in Darien, risking their lives in the quest for a better life and realizing their dreams. And the lessons learned from these migratory crises compel us to reiterate energetically once again that the government of Venezuela recover political dialogue and democracy and find its way back to social peace, avoiding massive migration and a humanitarian crisis so that the Venezuelans can have their basic needs met. These migratory movements can only be resolved by eliminating the root causes that compel citizens to leave their countries, risking their safety and their families. This is a significant challenge for this organization. We have actively participated in the construction of the Global Compact for Safe Migration, which is orderly and regular, that will be adopted this year in this organization with a view to contributing to a global framework in order to tackle this crisis based on our experience. We countries have a responsibility to develop policies that allow for controlled management of migratory flows while respecting human dignity. In the coming days, Panama will be announcing humanitarian measures taken to support Venezuelan families that reside in our country. Panama is a mixture of citizens who hail from all parts of the world and who have found in our beautiful land a new home. We have learned to live in peace, respecting all creeds, political ideologies, and thoughts. In this era of communication and social networks, there is no room for discrimination of any kind. We are all citizens of this planet. This is our home. The claims of violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms of Nicaraguan brothers and sisters could lead to another migratory flow in Central America. And I reiterate my call here to the government of Nicaragua and social actors to engage in political dialogue and thereby find peace. In 2015, Panama was the host of the historical rapprochement between Cuba and the United States. And from here, we reiterate our call that they resume this path and recognize the steps taken by the government of Cuba for an economic open system that would benefit all Cubans and the economic and social development of the island. I would like to highlight here that while our continent enjoys peace, the political crisis in Venezuela, the increase in drug production in Colombia, corruption, which has impacted so many economies in the region, and the tense situation in Nicaragua are challenges which require our political leaders of the region to redouble our efforts to return to the path of peace in our countries. In combating drug trafficking, Panama will refocus its strategy. We will not only concentrate on the interdiction of drugs and the arrest of criminals, we will also refocus our efforts on reconversion of communities and people so that they can cut their ties with illegal groups and be loyal to the state. We ratify here our commitment to be on the first line of nations who, working with multilateral organizations, are working for a better world. And to that end, in the month of November, with the presidents of the chancellors of Central America and the Caribbean, we will be inaugurating the Regional Logistical Center for Humanitarian Assistance. Panama puts to the service of the region its connectivity in order to address natural disasters and emergencies that take place in our continent. Ladies and gentlemen, while respecting government systems, I feel that the future of politics will not just be about how power is obtained, but how it is used for the benefit of the people. We are convinced of the need to contribute to the construction of a world that is fair and more peaceful. Panama will work broadly with a bilateral agenda with countries of Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, Australia, and China in order to become closer to the world and fulfill our role as a country that creates bridges. In the last 10 years, we have had an opportunity to visit more than 40 countries and to see firsthand best practices, technologies, and cooperation programs that we have been able to leverage in my country. That is what diplomacy is all about, using our capacity to help each other and not destroy each other. And thus, we are developing a monorail system with Japanese technology, a metro with French trains, technical education based on the Singapore model, and electric generation plants based on natural gas with North American technology. Following this vocation to be a bridge of the world, Panama will be the host of the World Youth Day in January of 2019. In a meeting with the presence of Pope Francisco, we seek to work with hundreds of thousands of young people from 192 countries to work towards the common objective of peace, to build a better world, overcoming cultural and religious barriers. I bid farewell to this General Assembly with an awareness of peace to be used as the political power received by the people only for its benefit, fighting at all times for the success of Panama to not be just the success of our country, but of all. Today, I wish to convey to all of you and to the world my commitment to continue working as a citizen responsible for the world and in the world, working with my people and all nations to strengthen the United Nations system, all of its bodies and agencies, so that the inhabitants of this beautiful planet will all be at the very center of our struggles and efforts. By way of conclusion, I wish to share with you the pride I feel to have contributed to the strengthening of the vocation of my country to be a bridge of peace, dialogue, and social justice. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank His Excellency Juan Carlos Varela Rodríguez, President of the Republic of Panama, for the statement he has just made. May I request representatives to remain seated while we accompany the President.